Hello there. My name is JD, and welcome back to another episode of Weekly Update Wednesdays, the show where I answer all your questions and also keep you posted on what's been going on in the studio and our YouTube channel. First of all, remember the video to the song Unshakable? It's also now up on the Studio 2105 YouTube channel, so go ahead and check it out. Again, very big thank you to all the patrons and all the donors. Remember, you can still contribute to this good cause. Go down to the link, which I'm going to leave in the description, and help us to support some of the charity and relief efforts that's happening here in Malaysia and also in the Philippines. All right. Our Patreon special offer is still going on, but remember, you only have until at the end of this month, 30th of April, to get a copy of this super limited edition CD of the Project EAR album. So check it out. Link I'm going to leave down in the description below as well. Okay. Last week's episode of MixStream was a hip-hop track, Who the Boss by Akatsuki. I've already finished mixing the track, just waiting for the group to kind of get back to me on any mix notes or any kind of tweaks. And once it's out, I'm sure the group will keep all of us updated, but I'll keep you guys informed as well. So, looking forward to this week's episode, what we have in store for you is a pop punk track. This is a band which I am currently working with. I'm producing and recording their upcoming EP. They're called Airwaves on Fire. I mixed their first album a couple of years back. You can check it out. I'll leave the link in the description. I'm currently now producing their upcoming EP. So we've actually kind of like finished 4 out of 6 songs, and 2 of them have been mixed. The very first single was titled Ride or Die. That is already out. It's available on YouTube, on all the streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, etc. So I'll leave all this information in the description below. Okay, you can check it out. All right. So let's head down right to the Q&A. First question: as a beginner, I'm planning to buy an audio interface. What's your advice? Now, this is now a pretty popular question that's kind of going around the internet, especially since, everywhere in the world, every country is kind of under lockdown. So a lot of musicians, a lot of people are all stuck at home, They're not able to go out, they're not able to record. So they want to find out a way, but bands still want to create music, so they're finding ways to record themselves. That's why this question is really popping up on all of the music forums right now and groups on Facebook. So what's my advice? So this is the kind of the answer which I always give when someone asks me this very question, because it's really easy to just go online, and go and look for articles that say like, oh, what's the best beginner audio interfaces? Oh, what's the best top 5 audio interfaces under a certain budget, so to speak. But the way so it's very easy for you to just go ahead and just Google and search for these kind of answers. But my answer for you would be based on a couple of factors. First of all, number 1 would obviously be your budget. What's your budget like, right? So immediately you look at within the certain price range which you can afford and narrow down your choices that way. So number 1 would be budget. Okay, number 2 would be the I/O count, right? What means the input and output count. How many channels do you foresee that you are going to be recording at the same time, right? Is it 1? Are you just only ever going to be recording 1 or maybe 2? In the case of, let's say, a vocal and a guitar at the same time. So, but if you're doing, and so obviously if you're only going to be needing 2, look for an audio interface which has got two channels worth of mic pre inputs, right? Then if you look beyond that, if you are a drummer at home, so to speak, and you've got, you know, a couple of mics, you've got a number of mics, in that case, you know, you want to look at an interface which has, let's say, a minimum of 8 inputs, or, you know, it's something which can be expanded, you know, from maybe 2 or 4 to more inputs, you know. Which brings me to my third point. How future-proof do you want your current setup to be? So let's say, for example, that you are starting off with a 2-channel audio interface. Do you anticipate, let's say, 6 months, maybe a year down the line, that you're gonna need to expand the number of inputs? You're gonna need more inputs. You're gonna need more inputs because you are gonna be recording more channels. Maybe you're gonna be getting the rest of your band in, and you want to be recording, let's say, 6, 8, or maybe more tracks at the same time. So if yes, you may want to consider, all right, there's 2 choices. You may want to consider getting an audio interface which has the possibility of expansion, you know, which where you can expand your the number of input counts. Usually this is via, you know, ADAT optical inputs or SPDF. Of course, in that case, you will need to, you know, get another bunch of mic pre's or another bunch of AD converters to be able to take advantage of all the inputs. But it's something to consider as well, because you could end up spending more if you kind of just buy one interface with, say, 2 or 4 input channels, and then later down the line, when you feel that you need to upgrade to more channels, you know, you need a higher channel count for your inputs, you end up having to go buy another audio interface instead. So that's something to consider as well. So to sum it all up, you need to consider these 3 things. Number 1, your budget. Number 2, how many inputs do you need to record at the same time? And number 3, do you foresee the need to expand the number of channel counts? So hopefully, if you are able to answer these 3 questions, you'll be able to make the best decision for yourself, and, you know, with regards to what audio interface to choose to buy. Next question. What is the easiest way to get a guitar tone from effect pedals without miking? If I had to use VST amps, models plus IRs, do I still need a power amp, DI, etc.? Okay, let's assume first of all that we're talking about recording here. So what's the easiest way to get a guitar tone, right? Frankly speaking, the easiest way nowadays is to just go direct from your guitar to your cable straight into the input of an audio interface. So most audio interfaces that are available now have an instrument input. So usually what you need to do is to engage maybe a switch on it that engages it as the high Z, high impedance input, and that's gonna give you pretty good results already. But from my personal experience, right, the built-in instrument inputs don't sound that great. I've done my own personal recording tests where I've done it using the built-in instrument inputs versus using a DI box. So how that would work is that you can use a good DI box. Like, for example, what I have here is a Radial JDI, right? This is an awesome DI box, probably the best in the world. It's built like a tank. If you invest in one like this, it'll last you a whole lifetime. Okay, so what it goes to is that you plug your 1/4 inch, your guitar cable into the input of the DI box, and from the output, you take an XLR cable and just plug in directly to your audio interface into the XLR inputs. That's as easy as that. Now, if you don't have a DI, it's not the end of the world. It's perfectly alright to go straight into the instrument input on the audio interface. It's just that personally, from my experience, I found that the going to a good DI makes quite a big difference. I need some help. I was helping a friend mix his project with almost 20 tracks at once. My computer starts lagging when I edit, but there are no cracks or pops. Is it a problem with the processor or RAM? Interesting. Okay, cool. Now, 20 tracks isn't really a lot. That's actually quite a low track count, comparatively speaking, because nowadays it's not unusual to be recording for projects to end up with like 50, 60, 70, or even 100 or more tracks, right? So it's pretty strange, like as to why you are experiencing this problem. So you mentioned that it starts lagging when you edit, but you don't hear any cracks or pops or like glitches or distortions. Your computer just lags. So what I suspect, and again, I'm not a computer expert, so I can't, give you the best answer. But if you are not getting any cracks or pops or digital clicks of that sort, that usually doesn't mean a processor problem. I suspect that it's more either a RAM problem, or if in the case of like when your user interface, when you're editing and then you're zooming in, zooming out, and then you have a lot of track counts, when you do that and then your display starts lagging, that I think has got more to do with maybe your graphics card. So I don't think it's your case with your processor. It's either your RAM, right? I think nowadays we probably need at least a bare minimum of 8 gigabytes of RAM. 16 or more is definitely preferable if you're going to be running a lot of virtual synths and virtual instruments and sample libraries. You probably need even more than that, 32 gigs or even more. Usually if it's a processor issue, you'll start to hear all these cracks and pops and all that. So that can be solved by increasing your buffer size when you are doing your editing and mixing. Okay, so hopefully you're able to sort that out and just upgrade your graphics card. Make sure you have enough RAM, and that should kind of sort your problem out. I'm planning to embark on my career as an arranger. What are the pricing guidelines with regards to composing only, composing and recording, digital platform usage, on-ground usage, music ownership, duration, video recordings? Okay, right. So this is going to be a pretty big question, so it's going to be a pretty long answer, and I'm going to give you the answer from my own experience and my personal perspective. With regards to the Malaysian and the local market, there really isn't a fixed amount. There are many factors involved. Prices for ranges really vary a lot, very, very greatly, right? In some markets, I've seen it be as low as 5 to 700 ringgit. Where else, when it's more towards the pop and the mainstream market, when you're working with more established artists, arranger fees and all that could be anywhere between 1,500 ringgit to all the way to maybe about 2,005 or just a little bit more than that. Basically, usually if you are an arranger and you've been hired to do an arrangement, you are going to be giving them the complete thing, right? The complete song, the arrangement of the song as how it should sound like. Now, obviously, when at this stage, some of the things as an arranger, you're going to be using programmed instruments. So usually, for example, drums are programmed. Stuff like your keyboards and the string instruments, string parts are usually all programmed. When it comes to guitar, I still find that it's really hard to program guitar parts because they sound really, really fake. So usually when it comes to guitar, it will be recorded. I will usually record a live instrument. So to say that it's composing only or recording only, it's really hard to to delineate the two, because usually you are kind of expected to deliver the tracks, right, to the producer, for the project. So whether you use program or whether you use real instruments, right, and or if you use program and then the producer decides to re-record them, maybe call in a session drummer or a session guitarist to re-record the part, or get a live string section, for example. That's entirely up to the producer to whether they want to replace the program parts or not. Okay, so pricing guidelines, I can't really give you a figure, but you're looking at if you're talking about an arranger fee, I would not go any lower than, let's say, about 1,500 ringgit. Right. So when it comes to digital platform usage, that's really more of a question of digital distribution. That's usually something that's discussed outside the scope of arrangement and production, because that goes towards digital distribution and the marketing of the song. Very often, if you are going in as an arranger, usually the rights to the song are usually already fully assigned to the client, to the owner, whoever is paying you the money to arrange or, let's say, produce the song. Now, obviously, in the music industry, the saying goes, everything is negotiable. So it really depends. If you want to negotiate a cut from the digital distribution for your services, you can do so. There's nothing wrong in it, although it's rather unusual. Okay, question for continuation because the camera stops. So I would look at it in this way. If you think that the song is going to have a lot of potential, it's going to go viral, it's going to get lots and loads of views on YouTube or plays on Spotify or wherever, then maybe you want to sort of negotiate into your contract that you hold on to the publishing and also the performance rights to the song. But if you think that the song is kind of just going to do kind of okay, it's going to just kind of go on and then sort of pass on by in a short while, it may be better to assign or give all the rights to the client and just charge them whatever your normal rate is. So weigh these two situations, right? These two scenarios, and see which one you think will work out better. All right, so you also kind of mentioned about video recording, and you're referring to behind the scenes shots, short clips, work in progress stuff. So usually these sort of things are done by the client side on their own. Usually they'll bring in a videographer or somebody like that, a video team, and they'll shoot all these kind of behind the scenes videos and all that, which I find really, really annoying when I'm working. But right, clients paying for it, so we have to accommodate them as well. Okay, but anyway, I digress. Usually this sort of thing is something that they do on their own. So, and it's it's part of their promotion, it's part of the social media engagement thingy and what you might call it, and so it's really up to them. I think that it's also kind of a win-win situation, because when they use all this footage and everything for their social media, for their promotion, for their teasers, not only are they promoting them, but they are also kind of promoting your work, or the studio that you are working at. So it's actually a win-win situation. So it's pretty easy, right? Unless, of course, there's some really weird situation which maybe involve like branding or some kind of a product placement. That may be something that you want to work out, you see, because obviously, when it comes to actually endorsing or putting some kind of a product, that's a more complicated thing. So to sum it all up, right, it's a very long answer because it's a very big, long question. Okay, there's no real figure that I can give you, but obviously, there's some ballpark amount that you want to look at if you're dealing with the mainstream market. And obviously, with the more independent and certain segments of the different markets, there's again different figures, right? So it's something that I can't really give you a proper, precise answer, because again, in the whole music industry, everything is so varied. People charge different rates and different prices for, according to their different levels of experience and expertise, and everything's negotiable. So hopefully, if you take all these things into consideration, you'll be able to find and work out a rate which is gonna work for you. Okay, cool. Right, so that brings us to the end of our Q&A session. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and you found this week's episode informative. Please leave all your questions and a bunch of your comments down below. Okay, I will always get back, and I'll always read the comments and get back to you guys in the following week's episode. So remember to leave a like, do subscribe to this channel. Remember to click on the notification bell to be informed on the new videos. And please do consider becoming a patron. Go to patreon.com/studio2105. Remember, we are running the special offer until the end of the month, so check it out. And until the next one, do take care, stay safe, and keep on making music. Bye.